No.
I couldn't go for much more than a week without using. I was trying to hold down jobs, but it was still very unreliable. So every couple of months, I would get spit out of a job and have to start over again. Things were getting worse.
So I just figured at some stage, I was like, I'm going to be a crazy young man, and then when I'm like this guy's age, I'm going to just straighten out and fucking fly straight. And that just never happened. I just got less and less control as time went on,
Before the restaurant, life wasn't really too exciting. Like, I got a lot of enjoyment out of soccer. It took me out of my own head, because anytime I was in my own head, then I was full of fear and worry, and it was just insanity in my own head. Junior high, high school was when like alcohol became my escape, and different drugs and stuff.
My first kitchen job was dishwashing in Little Italy in Montreal. And I just needed money badly, right? Because, my whole life was a party, and I was just, school was a joke for me entirely. And, and I started doing it, and I, really didn't like it to begin with. It was so, it was just a brutal first gig. I think my second shift was Italian weekend. It's like a celebration in Montreal. And I started at 10 in the morning, and I checked out at 2:30 the next morning. And I was destroyed. I was this weird combination of super jacked up, energetic, and just exhausted. And I couldn't sleep. And then I had to do it again the next day. And it was and there were these other, the cooks were these tough francophone dudes who would roll in there, and I'd just be like, what the fuck? How do you guys do this? Yo man, in the morning I just drink a couple beer, and then everything is fine, right? And I was like, cool, I can do that.
I didn't really care what was going to happen 6 months from now, or 2 years from now when I graduated. Working in a kitchen, every day is a new day. You get an adrenaline rush. You feel the pressure, in the moment. You're not thinking about tomorrow or anything. You're just there on the line, living in that moment right then and there.
And I learned pretty quickly this culture of we work really hard, and then we go out, and at the very least we get super drunk, and and we wake up and we do it again the next day. And I started doing pulling these super long hours, and then getting more and more responsibility, and fucking up at first, and then figuring out organization, and you put it, man, oh man, I had no idea how to do anything for myself looking back. At 18, I couldn't even fold my own laundry, right? I was inept.
From someone looking from the outside in and looking on the kitchen, they could say, well, that looks like insanity. It looks crazy in there. People are rushing around and yelling and this and that. But for me, being in the middle of that, everything made perfect sense. It was, I have to do this, I do this fast. This person over here is working this station, he's doing that, she's doing this. And all of a sudden, us three come together and serve something, and then do it again, and this repetition over and over and over again.
And the chef was so clear. He's just if you're late 3 times, I'm going to fire you. Right? Because he knew, he took one look at me. He's like, I got your number, kid, right? You got to be here on time every day. And as long as I was doing that, I was good in his eyes. And so I did it consistently. And so it was this amazing thing. And I just thought, fuck school. This is really life, and I'm working with real people, and I make money, and I have this new sense of pride, and I'm learning skills, and I love food.
And it was very simple on how to move up. Work hard, know the menu, be fast, and when they ask you, can you do this for me, you'd say yes. You know, my drinking was probably like once or twice a week. I was sort of managing everything. I was, you know, feeling pretty good.
You know, the last job I worked, I was the sous chef at this place, and my buddy was the chef, and you know, and we would often work nights just us two. It's a small little place, you know. We would do this shift where it was like Friday night we would do dinner, so we'd be in at 3, and we'd get out, you know, we'd do the dinner shift, and it was probably, you know, 2 in the morning before we got out, and we would have to do prep for brunch the next day. We'd be in at 8 again, do the brunch shift. It was insane. It was so busy. It was one of these, you know, famous Montreal brunch spots, and the lineup would be around the block, you know, and you're running on like 4 hours sleep. And, you know, I used to drink vodka and energy drink in the morning, and that would really put me on my feet. And we'd do that, and then we would prep for dinner. You know, brunch would go till 3, 2 hours prep for dinner. Dinner would start at 5:30. We'd do that. And then we'd be done at 2 in the morning. And then we'd do brunch again on Sunday. It was ridiculous, you know. It was like got probably, you know, 6 hours sleep in 2 days, and you're just on your feet working your ass off all the time. And as time went on for me, like that's demanding anyway, but as time went on, like my ability to not have a drink and hold it together was just falling apart.
Me sitting home, like, you know, trying to watch TV, like, or like just do like normal things, was insanity in my own head, because it was just like there's this fear and anger and this fucking obsession to use, like constantly, like pulling at me. So I would try to use some sort of escape, right? So it was try to work and get lost in work. You know. It never really occurred to me to have a balance when I was struggling to try to stay clean and try not to like fuck everything up. I wanted to escape from the madness, like in my own head.
If I hadn't got enough booze in me, like I would just emotionally start falling apart, and in the middle of a shift I'd be like sobbing, you know, and I'd have to go outside, and like, which, you know, besides fucking service up was, you know, like just personally really embarrassing. And so I just started drinking all the time, you know. I was just always sure that I'd have a little supply. I brought booze with me, or I'd sneak a drink from the bar if the chef was downstairs, or I would drink the cooking wine.
I would be constantly in and out of detoxes, hoping that would work. They wouldn't give you any sort of program or solution to anything. I would just have to use my own willpower to stop. And my own willpower was useless.
Okay, I'm going back to Montreal. I'm going to start this brand new life sober, and everything's going to be, you know, going to be good because I've done the thing that people do to get well. On the way back, in the airport, before I even got on the plane, I was fucking drinking. You know, I remember thinking, I was like, I'm going to have a drink. I'll just have a drink. But it better be a good drink. So I ended up having a triple tequila. It was like all of a sudden, like I came to, and I was actively looking for drugs, you know. It's just like down at Barrie UQAM again, fucking exactly right back where I'd been.
It's like Groundhog Day, or Groundhog Month. Like it was just over and over and over again. To this point, I was just desperate and hopeless. I didn't want to use and drink anymore at all. I had no way, like, not to. I had never said no to drugs, ever. I got no energy to even go look for a job. Like, why bother? I'll just fuck it up in a couple weeks or a month. Right at this point, I couldn't go much longer than that.
And I couldn't stay sober for the life of me. Wanted desperately not to be drinking in the morning and coming out of blackouts looking for drugs and finding myself in crack houses and like all these things, right? Like wanted so badly for that not to be the case. And yeah, and I just called my mom and I was like, this is fucked. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm you know, I'm drunk right now. And yeah, and I went back to Nova Scotia And I went back to her house.
I like that that liar in my head that would tell me like the things aren't that bad and make excuses, or the delusions and stuff, like was completely quiet at that moment. All that was left was just tell the truth.
And on April the 19th at like 3 in the morning, I had my last drink on the foot of her bed. And at that time, I had no idea how I was going to get well, what I was going to do, if it were even remotely possible that I was ever going to be able to like live anything resembling a normal life. Because like everything I had tried earnestly just had not worked,
Scared that I would go back into that same routine, start using, and everything would just pick up where it left off. So I went to this meeting and I walked in, they're all laughing and smiling, and I was like, what the fuck are these people so happy about? Like I'm fucking miserable, like, I'm sort of white knuckling it here, like I don't want to use, but like life isn't really getting too much better at this point. And all these people are happy and laughing and stuff. And the meeting starts and they start introducing themselves as like recovered addicts and recovered alcoholics. And that really intrigued me, like that I never heard anyone ever say that they're recovered. I always thought I would be recovering.
And that's when I knew like whatever is wrong with these people is what's wrong with me. That was amazing, because I felt forever like there was something wrong with me, and I wanted an answer to what that was. And I can tell you today, 2.5 years later, that the answer that I got there was for me something real, something lasting. And once I identified the problem, I went after finding the solution, and I found a man in the program who had, done an honest to God set of steps. He became my sponsor. He showed me how to do it. I did it, and my entire perception of the world changed,
There's still a passion for cooking, but there's other things that are like I find more exciting now. So right now, work is a 40-hour-a-week thing. So I'm not really like infatuated with the kitchen right now, like I was when I was younger.